All right. Here we are, folks. Move my body out of the way. Oh. Oops. I spilled just a little bit. Hi, Leslie. Hi, Claire. You made it. Hi, Wabbit. How's everybody doing today? I just want to quickly pull up my playlist. I thought I had everything all like set up and like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go straight from Adventure Club into here. Everything's gonna be all set up to ready to go, and then I forgot music vibe thing. So there we go. There we are. How's everybody doing today? All right, so I have this little piece. It's still a little bit wet. I would call this on the soft side of leather hard. But it's pretty firm. Like if I stick my finger there, I'm not getting thumbprints or anything like that. So this is a pretty good time to trim this piece. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to trim this piece. Now, I mean me, and y'all are going to watch me. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is going to make Claire very happy. So I'm going to go over here and we're going to get some clay out of this here bag. And I'm going to pull a hand. And I'm actually going to pull like probably 3 or 4 just so I have options after the handles are all set up and everything. Because sometimes, you don't really like the first one that you do. Oh, no. You're having trouble with the audio. Okay. Maybe if I turn down the music. Is that better? Yeah, man. Dirty fingers. That's where it's at. Okay. So I'm just going to take this, cut it into 4 equal pieces. No need to be really fussy about it because we're going to stretch the hell out of this thing. I can't. Claire, can't wait for you to see this. All right. So to pull a handle, I'm just going to create like a little place for my thumb and my finger to grip here. And then I just have to get the clay nice and wet. And just pull down. Yes, Claire, I know. That is indeed what this looks like. And every time I go to the community studio and somebody's there pulling handles, it's always, it's never not funny, honestly. So yeah, I mean, what you're doing here is you just kind of grabbing a blob of clay and letting water and gravity do their job and just kind of encouraging it along the way. But yeah, this is the absolute dirtiest thing possible. I knew I had to do a stream today when I left the studio last night, and I had a piece that was like, so, okay, Icor has an interesting question. So The fact that it's got a little divot right there, also not intentional, but like it's hilarious to me. All right, so iCore says, why can't you roll it? You can. The issue is like sometimes you get less of a actual handle shape if you just roll it. Because like, most mugs, here you go. This is just like a, manufactured mug. So see how that's not like round, really. It's kind of that ovally shape. And if you try and get that by rolling it, it's not going to give you like something that's pleasing. I can't. This is nothing but dirty. Okay, it's much more pleasing to put in your hand to hold the mug in your hand if it's not like totally round. But you also don't have to do this process. We have what's called a handle extruder, or just frankly just an extruder in general, and that will get you a really nice handle shape. But I mean, honestly, I did it this way for Claire. The extruder is actually like quicker. It gets you a much more uniform shape. Oh, Claire, no. Like, yes, there are toys to assist, but they're not something that like this is like the opposite of dirty. This is the handle extruder. So you would just take a big sheet of clay and then just go and literally cut the handle out using this. So yeah, but like I was like, okay, I've got a piece that looks pretty good that's ready to be turned into a mug. But I mean, hey, whatever floats your boat there, Claire. I personally, I have accidentally jammed my thumb onto the handle extruder before when I was reaching in the bag to grab something, and it did not feel good at all. I can't imagine putting that on any kind of a sensitive area. But no, whatever floats your boat. I ain't judging. Do what you want. Yes, iCore, it is losing girth, but that's kind of the idea. You don't you also don't want like the handle to be like this thick, because A, that would probably blow up in the kiln, and B, also is not great to hold in your hand whilst drinking your tea or coffee or beverage of choice. So there you go. Okay, so this is always the part I have a little bit of trouble with, is how much length do I actually want for my mug? So let's see. If I cut it off right there, yeah, that's going to be a pretty good size. So, and I have these kind of cool little doohickeys that are like handle shapers. And those of you who have hung out for my stream before, sorry, I'm facing downward. I'm just looking for something. So those of you who have been on my stream before, know that I have said that clay has a memory. And so what you're doing with this process, what I'm about to do rather, is that's why the bucket, Claire, the drips are why you have the bucket, you see. But yeah, so clay has a memory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pinch this part off, and I'm going to use the edge of the table to do that, to get a nice even cut there. And then I have this little handle former. And so what this is going to do is while this sits, and I'm just going to sit it over here for a little bit. While that sits, the clay is sort of remembering this shape, for lack of a better term. So yeah. So then when I go to put the handle on the mug, it'll stay in that shape. Now, as I say, never good to put all your eggs into one handle's basket. So we're going to pull another one. And I guess I could take one of these other. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to pull another one here. It does dry. It does dry and firm a little while it's sitting there. Yes, it sure does. So yeah, so I'll pull another one. So then we'll have two pulled handles and then two extruded handles. I'll use the extruder on the other two lumps I have over there. And then we'll trim the cylinder while those are setting up. See, anybody who's not hanging out for the stream, you're missing out. This is good content right here. Oh, goodness. Yeah, occasionally you want to kind of turn it so that it gets sort of even pressure all the way around. I know. This is not that kind of stream, Icor. I've established. But I'm telling you, I was like, I knew as soon as I left the studio last night with a greenware piece that was ready for trimming, I was like, all right. Ah! That's not supposed to happen. But I think it'll be okay. Seriously, I should just like rename myself to like the Clumsy Potter or something. Like, because I've had sponges fly across the room. I've had like just all kinds of mess that I make. Slippery little boogers. Indeed. So I predict that this one is not going to become a real boy, but we'll see. Oh, that was an unfortunate reference. I apologize like unreservedly for what I just said. Oh, Lordy. All right. Okay. So now, let's see. Help me decide, you guys. So I've got, you see, my other handle, I've got like an ear shape. I've got this shape, which is just kind of like an oval. I bought a whole bunch of these. I'm actually kind of really excited to use some of them. Where are my scissors? So I've got like this more like squared off handle shape. And then I've got just like a circle shape. I don't think I want the circle. Yeah. So what do you guys think? And I've got like varying sizes of all those, but I think I want the biggest one regardless. So what do you guys think? You think another ear shape or the squared off shape for the oval shape. Square. Cool. All right. That was what I wanted anyway. But I would do what you guys wanted. Toe shape? What's toe shape? Travis? Okay. There we go. All right. All right. We'll just let that hang out for a little bit. So now I get to show you guys the extruder, which sounds like much more fancy than it actually is. It's literally just like so many of these little things that we use, these tools, we give them fancy names, but it's really just kind of like the Play-Doh Fun Factory. You know, like it's just like crap we used to play with when we were kids. It's not like that fancy. So, all right. So I'm going to take this. Ordinarily, I would roll this out properly like a slab, but just for a couple of handles, I'm not that fussed. Actually, you know what? I will. You guys want to see my giant new toy that I got? Just gonna stick with. I'm just leaning in. I'm just leaning in to the Claire theme for today. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, so I got this really cool rolling pin that came with a lot of annoying stuff that's in my way now. But yeah, it's super cool. It's got these little rings on the ends that make it so you can adjust the height that you want to roll your clay out to. Bakers have these for cookies and stuff too, but this one is specifically for pottery. So I'm gonna roll this out nice and flat. I think I'll probably go with the yellow. It's like a, you know, so that's a 1/16 of an inch. That's a little small. I'll go with a 1/4 inch. There we go. And one day I'll do another stream someday when I do like actual just hand building stuff. Like there'll be, you know, well, I'll sit here because this is where all my setup is, but like I won't be actually like using the wheel. I'll just be doing hand building because it's really fun and interesting also. I didn't expect it to be. When I first signed up for art classes, I was like, oh, hand building sounds boring. It's really not. It's really super cool. And you get really amazing stuff with it. Like that, if any of you have seen where I posted the cookie jar inspired by Hornet from Hollow Knight, I hand built that whole thing because I can't throw that big yet. So are those end caps even touching? A little bit. Like, the problem is the splash pan is getting in my way, so I really shouldn't be doing this way. But I'm not trying to be super. If I were trying to be super precise, I would go over here and do it. But I'm not that fussed about it. Honestly, I just want to flatten this out. So here's the extruder. And here's what we do. Just push and pull. Zoop. There we go. And it puts like a little groove in here. I don't know if you can see that very well. There you go. Yeah. See, it puts a nice little groove in there. So we'll do a couple more of those just to see which ones come out nicest. And with using the extruder, if you really want to be, I sound like Patrick, really want to be precise about it, you want to make sure that you apply like really even pressure across the surface, because you can kind of see here, I don't know if you can see that well. See how there's this little groove right here, but then it kind of stops. And that's where the clay was thicker up there. So, yep, Icor's right to call me out there. So, let's just see. Let's use an oval for this one. These I always end up having to do a little bit more shaping. Here's my other square. Let's do another square one. For this one, actually, you know what? You don't have to have these little handle formers at all. I just thought they were cool. You can literally do this with anything. Like, I can take my rolling pin here and just like drape it across there, and it'll get that rounded shape. It's literally just about like letting the clay dry a little bit to give it some of that memory, to let those clay molecules kind of bind together a little bit more. That's all it is. Okay. I do not want this to dry out, so I'm going to put it back. Ah! See? Clumsy Potter. The Clumsy Potter. That's my new brand. Start creating that as a meme. It's just because y'all are watching. I'm normally very graceful. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. Okay. So I'm going to clean all this crap off the wheel. I'm going to clean that insert properly later. So now we have to trim this guy while we're waiting. You're a wizard, Clumsy. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So the rim here looks pretty good. I don't really feel like I need to do very much with it. I'm just going to take just a little bit of water and just smooth the rim out just a tiny bit, because the way that I kept this piece from drying out, it was on my shelf at the community studio. And the way I keep it from getting dried out from week to week is by wrapping it up in plastic. So as you can imagine, when you do that, you get some little artifacts here or there of the plastic. You get some little crinkles here and there, and that doesn't feel nice. When you're drinking your tea, you don't want all the little crinkly things touching your lips. You want it to be a nice, smooth beverage experience. So I'll just clean that up real quick before I wire it off again. I already wired it off after I threw it, but it sat there for about a week. So I'm just going to carefully take it off. And so you can see I've got some little rough edges around here. But that's a pretty good flat bottom. So, well, you have come to the right place, September, because I shall be adding handles very shortly. Where is my rib? There it is. Okay. So this little hunk of wood here is called a rib. I don't actually know why. I should look that up. So I'm just going to clean off the wheel here. I want to get the wheel nice and damp, but still have a good handle on on where the center is. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my piece here and I'm just going to get it as close to the middle as I can just by kind of eyeing it. So now what I want to do is I want to make sure that the bottom is completely in the middle. Yeah, September, I haven't listened to the last 2 Wednesdays of TMS. I'm so far behind because I got sucked into watching and listening, reading Silo. And so like all of my spare time that I have for listening has all gone to audiobooks. And like I never get to listen live on Wednesdays because meetings. But yeah, so I definitely need to catch up on that. All right, so back to centering this piece. We want to make sure that the bottom, which is the part we're going to really be concentrating on most to trim, is in the middle so that we don't make because if it's not in the middle, people often ask like, why does it have to be in the middle? If it's not in the middle, then what'll happen is as I'm trimming out, the bottom will have like one part of it will be higher than the other, and you'll get a wobbly, wonky cup. Nobody wants that. Unless if you're making like the Mad Hatter's tea set or something, then you might want that. But mostly you don't want that. So the way I like to do this is like this. So I just sit here as still as I can with my fingers held in one place and just kind of make sure that it's all contacting the same amount of the piece. Another way that I've seen people do this is with a pin tool. How's my pin tool? Oh my gosh. My family, y'all, they steal all my shit. Ow. Flip. That hurt. Crap. I really don't know where my blue knife tool is. That's really sad. Okay. So another way that people can determine if they're in their piece is centered or not is you can spin the wheel real fast and then you just come in. The important thing here is to keep your hands steady, because as soon as this piece touches the pin, it's going to want to move. So I can see that it's a little bit higher over here than it is over here. But it does look like it's pretty even all the way around. So yeah, they do make tools that will automatically center the piece for you. They are inordinately, stupidly expensive for what they are. And I'm like, no, I can I can do this with a pencil. And, like, no, thank you. They're like, a couple $100 or something, for what's actually, turns out to be a very small percentage of the process. Just so you'll know, the piece I'm looking for is like this, only mine is blue. So I'm taking Chuck's, but I'm gonna, because it's got my name on it somewhere. So if my daughter has taken it or somebody else in the studio has taken it, I'm gonna find it because it's a big honking knife thing and it's got Amy written all over it. So if you've stolen, that warning to you, if you've stolen my knife tool, I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna stick it in an unpleasant place and then go wash it real good and take it back. I dislike greatly that, like, having to use a community studio, I have to constantly be worried about, like, people stealing my stuff. Chuck's mom was an artist, and she used to say, like, the only problem with community art centers is the community. And for the most part, I don't actually find that to be true. I actually really, really enjoy the company of most of the people that I have encountered at the pottery. That one really unpleasant lady accepted. If you follow me on TikTok, you know what I'm talking about. I don't need to tell that story again. But anyway, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just putting lugs on here. Ordinarily, I would prefer not to, but I think this piece is firm enough that the lugs aren't actually going to hurt the rim. And I don't know. Sometimes it just feels a little bit more secure if you actually have lugs, rather than, I know this one instructor that we've had, she never uses lugs. She just gets the bat really, really, or actually she trims directly on the wheel head. She just gets it really nice and wet, and then like relies on the surface tension of the water and the weight of the piece to hold it in place. But she makes big bowls. She's actually doing a workshop this summer called I Like Big Bowls, and I cannot lie. So yeah, that one, Leslie. Okay, so put the lugs there to kind of hold it in place, and then I spin the wheel, and what I do, I try. You can see I'm kind of stabbing myself a little bit. That is to keep the tool really well anchored and in one place. So what I'm doing is I'm just drawing a circle around where I want the inside of the foot to be. So this is going to be the inside of my foot. Not my foot, the foot of the piece. And then I'll just do that again for where I want the outside of the foot. And that sort of gives me my lines that I can color in. And I have pretty soon, I'm going to have to figure the tech of how to do all this out, but I will, fear not. But I have ordered like a little tall tripod mount thing so I can put a camera like directly over the wheel so that you guys will be able to see from like a POV standpoint what this looks like. So, all right, so I'm going to use this little pear-shaped tool here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, again, I'm going to get the wheel spinning nice and fast. And I'm just trimming away everything that's not inside of those two circles. And this is, honest to God, like that right there, that little curly Q, that is like, like one of the most satisfying parts of this whole process, and I love it. So yeah, a lot of the trimming process is just kind of, once you have the mechanics of it down, which is kind of what I just did with the creating a couple circles and whatnot. That's not even mandatory. That's just kind of a little cheat code. I mean, if you want, you can just dive right in and start trimming the thing. But I like to have my little guidelines. Because if I don't, next thing I know, I'll have trimmed the whole bottom away and it won't have a foot at all, and I won't have enough clay left to be able to put a foot on it. Now, you don't have to have a foot, but it does make, having a foot on the piece does make a lot of things a lot easier. For example, I'll show you on here. So even this little manufactured, like, you know, mass-produced mug, you see this ring around here? That's their foot. Now, it's almost imperceptible from the bottom of the piece, except for the fact that if you look, I don't know if you can see that, it's kind of sloped down a little bit right there. And so the foot is going to be higher up, or rather further down if it's right side up, than the rest of the piece. And that protects the kiln shelf. So you can't, like, if you're going to glaze the entire bottom of a piece, then you would have to put it up on what are called stilts, you know, which are exactly what they sound like. It's just like these little things with little kind of needles in them, like little tacks in them. And they just have little legs, and they hold up the piece off of the kiln shelf. Because if you don't do that, then when you put that piece in there and it's glazed all over, the glaze will freaking stick to the kiln shelf and never come off. It'll be forever cemented, so it'll ruin both the piece and the kiln shelf. So you have to have some kind of area on the bottom that is not glazed or is somehow protected from getting glaze on the kiln shelf. I have a bowl that I actually I hand built last year. It's basically like a ceramic basket. Like, I just took big rows of clay and just wove them like a basket, which was really cool and satisfying. Like, just from a, I don't know, like a repetitive pattern math kind of standpoint, it was really satisfying. But I just dipped the whole darn thing into the glaze. And so in order to fire it, I had to make sure I put it up on stilts, which is fine. You can put your stuff up on stilts, but when you're using a community kiln, you usually get charged for kiln space. And if you have to put your stuff up on stilts, then you have to pay for the extra space. Like cross-hatching. Yeah, I mean, like basket weaving. Like it goes over, under, and then I just wove it. It looked like a big pie crust. It looked like, basically like it's a bowl, but it's like the top of a pie crust. It looked really cool. I'll bring it down and show it to you guys sometime. It's up in my kitchen. Okay. So this looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this little foot. So you can see how, and this is a thing that I have Oh, I love Sgraffito. Oh, I'll do a time lapse video of doing Sgraffito sometime. Oh, that is because like it takes for I don't know if you do, but I take forever to do Sgraffito, but I love it. It's so just so for those of you who don't know, Sgraffito is basically like you're etching, you're like scratching into the surface of the clay. Typically you would have like a darker color and then the lighter color underneath, or vice versa. And so what you're doing when you do Sgraffito is you're scratching away the top layer to reveal the layer beneath. And it is so cool. It's so fun and satisfying. And it's like, I mean, basically you're like drawing on the surface, but like you're etching it in there. So yeah, it's really awesome. I really love it. So you can see how I got these kind of bumpy things here. That's called chattering. And what that means is that when I put my tool up against that part of the clay, it didn't stay all the way in contact with the clay all the way around. So yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Sam Lloyd. So I've done a couple of Sgraffito pieces and I really loved both of them. One of them I did, it was like a bowl. And so I covered it in black. What I thought was underglaze, but it's because I was a noob and didn't understand the difference between like stroke and coat and regular underglaze. But anyway, so I covered it in like a black low fire glaze. And then I scratched in the like not the characters, but like all the icons from the spells from Hollow Knight. And they turned out so good. I loved it. Celadon. Okay. I have a relationship with Celadon, and it is this. It's really pretty, and I really like it. I can't work with it. It doesn't like me. Chuck has made pieces with Celadon that are absolutely gorgeous. It just settles that glaze. Celadon, for those who don't know, is just a particular type of glaze, but it settles so much. It's like all goopy and it's all in the bottom. Like the whole top of the bucket is just water or just, basically clear glaze. And all the good stuff is at the bottom of the bucket. And I try and whisk it, and man, my arm is falling off before I get it to a point where I'm happy with it. So yeah, good for you that you can make Celadon, make stuff with cool stuff with Celadon, because good on you. It doesn't like me. So right now what I'm really doing is I'm just kind of trimming away some of the excess clay off the side of the mug here. And then I'm going to take my little mud tool sponge here and squeeze it out real good, because I don't want to get too much moisture in, but I'm just going to kind of just to smooth out the surface just a wee bit. Okay. So that looks pretty good. I'm actually going to go ahead and put a stamp in here. I'm so bummed. Y'all, look at this cool ass stamp the Brian Ibbott made me, but I can't, it requires too much pressure pushing down on it to get it to put the imprint into the clay. I end up like pushing through the bottom of the mug. So I have commissioned him again to make me another one. And I still use that one. That's why it's still in my bag. I just like douse it in underglaze and then use it like an ink stamp because it's so cool. But he's working on that for me. So in the meantime, what I do to stamp my stuff, and again, community kiln, right? So I have to mark my shit because otherwise somebody will make off with it. Oh, clever. Drill with a mixer. Yep, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So anyway, I just have this one little, it's just a little spiral. So I'm just gonna bloop into the foot of my piece. And then, where did I put it? Okay. Then I'm going to take Chuck's knife tool and I'm going to get these lugs off of here real carefully. So I'm just going to kind of peel these away so that I don't screw up the rim of the piece. There we go. All right, and mission accomplished. So there we go. If you guys want to see, there's my little temporary maker's mark. I mean, it's not temporary as far as this piece is concerned. It's on there forever. But it is temporary in the sense that I won't be using that maker's mark forever. So now we're ready for the fun part. So I have this is my jar o slip. Slip is basically just really wet clay. Put all my tools back in this bucket so I don't keep losing them. And we're going to do what's called slip and score, which actually should be score and slip. So what I like to do with a piece I'm going to turn into a mug is I kind of look around the sides and see, like, did I screw it up anywhere? Is there anywhere that like could benefit from a handle covering up my sins? And then I just find that little spot. Ah, yeah, that's the spot. And I take this little tool. It looks like a little wire brush because it's a little wire brush. And then I just put scoring in the clay body. So I just kind of scuff it up like this. And then I try really hard. All of my mugs always seem to end up with the handles on just a little bit crooked. Mostly nobody notices but me, but it still bugs me. Okay, so there you can see I put one little scritch there and one little scritch there. So now I get to look at our handles and decide who is the winner. So let's see. Ooh, I shouldn't pick that piece up like that. Okay. So this one is obviously a little big. I may have erred in picking the big ones for this piece. This mug is not big enough for these handles. Okay. Same thing with this one. This handle is way too big. Although I could make that work. But then the top, see the problem with this, you can do this. You can make your mug handle stick that far up. The problem is it won't fit in anybody's cabinet that way. which is okay. I mean, it's, you know, custom made pottery, but it's usually better if the handle actually fits on the darn thing. So I don't like this one as much as my pulled ones because it's not as hefty. You know, like it's, see how it's kind of flimsy? Whoop. See, this is just very thin. I rolled it out too thin. So I think I'm going to go with my square guy, but I'm just going to trim off some of this excess here. Let me see. There's my little blade. So I'll just trim off some extra from there. I'm circumcising it, if you will, Claire. Is Claire even still here? I don't even know. There we go. Yeah. See? So now if I trim off that excess, that looks about right. I quite like that, actually. So now I'm just going to take the little handles. There's little knobby things in the middle of the former here. So I can just pop it out and it'll stay in that shape. You know, roughly. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so what I did with the side of the cup, now I got to do that with the handle. So I'm just going to take my little scoring tool and I'm just going to work, making the sound effects helps. Do you find that, Sam Lloyd? You go, boil red. Oh, no. I made that. I made that bed for myself, I guess. Oy vey. All right. So I'm just going to scuff up the ends of our handle here. And yep, still looks like a pretty good shape. So I'm going to get a good blob of slip here. Oh, Claire's going to see Spider-Verse. All right. Well, she got to see the part of the stream that I figured would be most exciting for her. So good for her going to go see the movie. It's a good movie. So now I'm just putting a bunch of this slip into, and I really should be using a brush or something, but I'm just putting a bunch of slip onto these places where I put my scoring. And that's basically going to glue the handle in place. These handles really are too wet to do this with yet, but I'm doing it anyway. Because I've been on for almost an hour here, which you guys have been really cool to come hang out with me for this long to watch me make one mug. I've been talking a bunch, so that's cool. So yeah, so I'm just literally just like piling on slip in the places where I scored it. and then going in and just smoothing out the rough spots. The trick with cups and handles is always trying to make it look like it's all one piece. I have done wax resist. So, I mean, so I'm pretty sure you mean like, have I done a wax resist like to get like a design onto the cup, like where, you know, in the negative space where the glaze is not. I put wax resist on the bottoms of all my pieces in order to protect the kiln shelf. But yes, I have done that. I did some water etching with like, I actually ended up using, I think I used polyurethane for it, which is similar. And then just like ran a wet sponge across the top of the piece, which is kind of like a wax resist. But yeah, I've done wax resist pieces before. Actually, if you've seen the piece, the bowl that I did for Ibit that I gave him for Christmas with all the little music notes, the way I did that was really painstaking, actually. We cut out, like, we used the Cricut to cut out all the music notes. And then, so I put all the notes onto the bowl where I wanted them. And then I laid a layer of wax all over the piece, and I let the wax dry. And then I peeled away each of the music notes. And then I went over the entire piece with like a black underglaze. And then, and rinse and repeat, but without the rinsing. Yeah, so that was a huge process, but it was so cool. It came out really, really cool. I'm really proud of that. So if you haven't seen that, I still have a picture of it somewhere. I'll be glad to send it to you and show you. You know, it's funny you say that, Leslie. That bowl is what I gave to my Tadpole Secret Santa person last year. Was the one I was talking about earlier with the Sgraffito. Because the person I drew got had Hollow Knight listed as one of their favorite things. So yeah, that is indeed what I gave them. Mm-hmm. It was funny because it was just like, honestly, so I'll tell you this. I actually had it already because I just wanted to make it just to see if I could make it. And then when I got the person that I don't even remember I'm a little embarrassed, but I don't remember who it was. But when I saw that this person, one of their things that they listed was Hollow Knight, I was like, oh, well, clearly they were meant to have this bowl. Okay, so here's our mug. I quite like it. I like this shape on the handle. I'm pretty happy with that. I think that the blending on it looks pretty good. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased. Pretty pleased with this. So you guys got to watch me trim and put a hand and pull handles. I don't, like I say, I don't actually do that all that often. Next time I will roll out a proper slab. And as Icor pointed out, I will actually roll it out on a surface where it's correct. And yeah. But yeah, that's the trickiest part to sticking a handle on to a mug. I think September was saying she was interested in that process. The trickiest part of it is making sure that you get enough slip on there to make sure that it really adheres to the piece without having like big clumpy fingerprints all over that part, unless that's what you're going for. There are, I have seen pieces where people like intentionally do that. Like they have like big blobs around where the handles are attached, and they like, and it looks really cool. Like if you mean to do it, it looks cool. If you're trying to get it smooth and you have a big old thumbprint there, it looks dumb. It looks like, oh look, you know, a first grader made a thing. It looks like the mug I gave my dad for Christmas the year, like last year after I first started doing pottery. I gave him the ugliest mug. But it was like the first functional piece that I had made. So I gave it to my dad. So yeah. So thanks for hanging in with me, guys. And I'll wrap this guy up and decide how, because he's still wet enough. If I wanted to sgraffito this mug, I could. Because this is like, it's actually a little softer than leather hard. Like, I don't know if you guys can you hear that? Like that little thumpy thump. So yeah, I could totally sgraffito something into this if I wanted to. So I'm going to wrap it up nice and tight so that I still have that option, because once it gets bone dry, you don't have all the same options. And so yeah, maybe I'll do like a time lapse of doing sgraffito on this guy or something. But for now, I'm going to stop touching it, and I'm going to clean up, and I'm going to go see what my work person wanted. And thanks for hanging out with me, y'all. I think I'm going to do this as a regular thing. I think Thursdays after Adventure Club, but before Coverville is a good time. What do you guys think? What's the pencil thing? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so real quick before I go, I will answer this question. So this is the piece that I posted last night on, if you follow me on Be Real. And I was so excited that it was like Be Real actually prompted me when I wasn't freaking asleep, because I like miss most of them because I'm asleep. But this is what I was working on last night. I have become absolutely obsessed with doing Zentangle art, and particularly putting it on pieces of pottery, because like, look at that. It's just, it looks really cool. Like this repeating pattern. So this is what, like I was at the pencil-y stage of this last night. And now I took my little squirt bottle. Where is it? So I've got one of these little goobers, and there's just underglaze under that, which underglaze is basically just like a flat matte paint for pottery. It's got dye in it. It's like, it's got pigment, and it's pigmented clay essentially. But you could put it on your clay and then you low fire it and it'll set, and it gives you nice bright colors. So, anyway, yeah. So I took this and etched over all my pencil lines, and then I'm going to go back in, and you can see, where is it? Right here, where it's a little darker. So this is where I started going in with, I've got an underglaze pencil. This is like super, aren't you glad you asked, September? So I've got an underglaze pencil here, which, you etch onto here, and then you get, after it's fired, normally if you would draw on a piece of pottery with just like a regular number 2 pencil, it would burn all the pencil marks would just burn right off in the kiln. But with an underglaze pencil, they don't. And then you get something kind of in between. You get, if you were going to make a pencil sketch, you get something kind of in between, like these really like defined lines of the underglaze or paint. And so you can give it kind of a cool sketchy look, which you normally wouldn't be able to get, right? Because you can't make pencil marks on pottery. You can make them, but they go away. They just burn off. So yeah, it's a super fun. Yeah. Underglaze pencils, man. You can get them on internet. I bought this at Davin's Pottery, which is my local pottery shop, because I like to support my local people. But yeah, Like you can buy these same ones. This is the Chrysanthos. Oh, come on. Focus. Anyway, Chrysanthos underglaze pencils, and they have a bunch of different colors, and yeah, so they're really cool. And I actually have a piece in the kiln right now that I did that was like this, that I did a Zentangle on, and then put underglaze pencil onto. So yeah, so this was that piece. So thank you for asking, because I'm really enjoying playing with these. And this is a great thing, because like I can sit in a meeting as long as I'm not on camera. I'm just like, you know, it's just repetitive. It's kind of like crochet that way. I can just like go, you know, repetitive Zen motion. It's lovely. All right, y'all. I'm gonna start cleaning up. Y'all can hang out while I clean up if you want, but once I go outside, I'll kill the stream. But thank you so much. This was fun. And yeah, I think, like I say, I think Thursday after Adventure Club, but before Coverville is a good spot. So yeah, I've been to those places too, where you can basically buy like bisqueware. So you buy a piece that's already been through the low fire kiln, and then you can, and it's on like a white clay, and then you can decorate it however you want, and they put it through the kiln for you. I find some of them though, like the glazes are not great. Like I made a bowl from one of those places like that, that I was really, really proud of. And I thought it was really cool because it had like I put the lyrics to the Ballad of Barry Allen, like across it was a cereal bowl, and I put it like along the rim. And then it was like red, and it had the flash, you know, like the lightning bolt in the middle of the bottom. And I was really proud of it, and I really liked it. And I gave it to my son, you know, as a present. And, you know, we use it like that's what it was intended for. But it's just like the glaze on it has just really, really chipped away. And like it did that pretty quickly. I was actually disappointed. You know, I would expect that after, you know, 10 years or so it would chip off. But it chipped off after like one or two washings. It was very, very disappointing. So just be careful. Like don't get too excited about you know, making a functional piece with a design on it that you super like from one of those you know, paint your own pottery places, because the glaze they use is not gonna like maybe hand wash it, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, if you've got a piece that you really, really like that you made from there, I would suggest hand washing it. All right. It's so much faster to clean up in my house than it is at the community studio. Oh no. This is another little trick I use for when I make mug handles. You can do this with like pretty much anything, like paper, newsprint, whatever. Just kind of stuff it in there so that the handle will keep more of its shape. See, it's trying to come off on the top here. Okay. Chuck fussed at me for leaving my stuff out, so I'm gonna I'm going to make sure I put all my things away. Like a good girl. Maybe that is how my blue thing went missing. You could be onto something there, Leslie. It's also always easier, like cleaning up after trimming, especially if you only trim one piece, is a lot easier than after throwing. Because throwing, man, you just get clay everywhere. I love cleaning the wheel. It's so satisfying. You just kind of drag a sponge across the wheel head and it cleans itself. Right? It is ASMR. Like a lot of this is ASMR. It's like wait till you see like the Sgraffito thing. Ooh, like not so much the sound part, but just like how satisfying it is to just like scrape it away and reveal those underneath layers, and then you kind of brush away the little clay boogers. It's so satisfying. Lovely, lovely. Ah! So like 11-ish. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, like I say, Leslie, so let's see. I'm on Eastern time. So, for me, that's what, 1? Yeah, around 1-ish. So yeah, for you, around 10-ish if you're on Pacific. Because it'll just be like in between Coverville and TMS. So I'll tentatively say around 1. But, you know, like, I don't want to step on Adventure Time either. So, like, because, like, here we didn't start. It was, like, after 1:30 when I started. So I was just like, okay, I'll just go straight. But sometimes Scott won't do Adventure Time. So, you know, we'll just kind of wing it, see what works. But, yeah, just roughly between TMS and Coverville. And of course I did that. All right. Ordinarily, I would put this into my little bucket of slip, at least, or I would put it into the bag and just let it get smushed into the clay. But I've already packed all that away, and I'm lazy, so it's going into the it's going into the box of stuff that is going to get reclaimed later. So there. You know what? I may have even managed to not make a big enough mess to warrant normally what I would do is take the splash pans and the bucket out to the backyard where I've got the hose, and and I would spray it all down to get it nice and clean. But I think I didn't make enough of a mess to have to do that. So I'll just take the bucket out back and throw it out and be done. Okay? Okay then. Yeah, that's nice and clean. I've watched some people like far more experienced potters than me, who are obviously like way better at it than I am, because I've only been doing this for like a year. But I've seen people do pottery streams, and their stuff is filthy. It's like they've never ever washed their splash pans or anything. I'm like, how do you live? I mean, I'm not super neat freaky type A. My husband is, but that's a totally different story altogether. But like, I mean, I like my space to be clean. I like to start with a nice clean space. I don't understand how somebody could sit down in a space where it's just like grungy and grody. That just doesn't make sense to me at all. Not at all. Oh, hey, TV's Egon. I didn't see you come in. Sorry, I wasn't paying good enough attention there. All right, y'all. I think I have procrastinated long enough. I gotta go now. Love y'all. Bye-bye.